So we're continuing our parenting discussion this morning. Now, earlier we spoke about how a lack of commitment and self-discipline can negatively affect your children, especially as they get older. Now, joining us in the studio to continue this conversation, we have creative parenting expert Nikki Bush. Nikki, all right, so once again, largely, I think whatever happens, from the starting blocks, there's a lot of pressure on the parents' side to really enforce a sense of perseverance, a commitment to whatever their child is busy with. But there's so much to choose from nowadays. I mean, you can understand why children would like to change, from one thing to the next. But I think it starts with us. We are the role models.
We are. And remember, we live with a visual generation of children who are watching us all the time. And if we're trying to help them to grow into committed children who have perseverance and stickability, they need to see us role modeling that too. Yeah. So how do we approach our own jobs? How do we deal with our own relationships in life? Are we committed? Do we persevere? Relationships are not easy. Especially when there are lots of children around, lots of interference running around, between us and our partners. And, how do we support each other? So when we look at how this reflects in our children's friendships, what do they see us doing in our relationships, and what lessons can they learn to take into their own friendship situations and ultimately their romantic liaisons later on. We are setting the ground rules for those things, so to speak. So never ever underestimate that we are the hidden curriculum and children are watching what we do. It's a bit scary.
Kids are watching you. Careful. Now, should a child not learn to persevere or to commit to something, how can that affect them later on in life when they enter the professional working environment and whatever they do later on?
So that can be one of the factors that makes people job hop. So when they're not experiencing good feelings in a job after a couple of months, they start thinking of leaving. So there's that career path that needs to be built, and there are certain stepping stones that one has to, a path that one has to follow. Things just don't fall out of the sky. Life actually requires effort and work. And so perseverance, dedication, commitment underpins that kind of work ethic and that commitment to the job. And if our children are going to succeed in the future, they are going to live in a very temporary world where everything around them is changing. And they need to learn how to be committed to self, to their own love of learning, their own journey, to their own relationships. So this is very, very important that they learn how to trust themselves and persevere from within, because it's this internal drive that is going to help them to survive and thrive in a fast-changing external world.
And confidence as well, and the ability of what you do. Last words of advice for our parents out there managing this issue, especially with so many choices out there.
Number one, limit the choices. Number two, have conversations and create agreements with children up front before they engage in an activity as to what the ground rules are and what they're committing to and for how long they're committing to it, and then follow through. And this is where we very often fall short, is that we don't stick to the agreement.
Nice. Thank you so much, Nikki. Really, I think good advice for our parents out there, especially living in the 21st century. So when it comes to your children, make sure that you encourage them to commit to an activity, and then you as a parent should persevere to make sure that they see that activity through.